What's up, everyone? Let's get right into the video. Today we're going to be working on a 2002 Honda CBR600 F4i, and we are going to be doing fork seals. First thing we want to do is get this horn out of the way. It's one 10mm bolt and 2 wires. Once you get that disconnected, just put it off to the side. What you're trying to do is basically get access to the bottom of the triple tree stem. Reason why is we're going to be using one of these. This is a sport bike front wheel stand. Slide this pin into the bottom of the triple tree stem and use the sand to lift up the front end of the bike. Next, I'm going to go ahead and get this front fender pulled off. Get this guy put aside. Next, I'm going to pull these front caliper bolts. After I got those pulled, I'm going to go ahead and loosen up this front axle. Let's loosen up these pinch bolts as well. Once that's all nice and loose, let's go ahead and remove these calipers off the front discs. Let's get these hung up with the bungee cord so we don't put any strain on the brake lines themselves. Then let's go ahead and get this front axle removed. To get these forks removed, we got to loosen up these top triple tree clamps. We also got to remove these top clip-ons, and we got to loosen the lower triple tree bracket as well. Another thing to note is that the clip-on's got a little safety ring to remove. Once you do that, you can just pull it right off and put it aside. Once you got everything loosened up, all you gotta do is take your time, rotate these forks. They'll come out of the trees. Here they are. Here's the front end of the rocket ship. Alright, now that I've got these on my breakdown table, let's go ahead and get these prepped. First thing we want to do is back out this clicker all the way. Same thing for the bottom. Top guy is normally going to be your compression, bottom's normally going to be your rebound. After that, go ahead and crack the bottom bolt loose and thread that guy all the way out. Next, what I'm going to do is crack this top fork cap loose. I'm going to unthread it, and I'm going to pull it all the way out. This is going to be connected to the inner cartridge. So be mindful, especially if anything falls out like that. Man, look at that oil. Alright, we got the cartridge pulled all the way out. Let's go ahead and get this guy broken down. Can use two 14mm boxing wrenches and hold them just like this. Once you get them loose, just thread out the top cap. And be mindful that you have the compression rod inside, so don't bend that guy. Once you got it out, just put it aside. This is what the internal cartridge looks like when it's all disassembled. Next, we're going to move on to the fork itself. First, I got to dump out the rest of the soil, though. Yeah, it was definitely time for a service on this. Next, what I'm going to do is pull off this little fork seal protector. Usually I use a rubber mallet or Deblo, but I didn't have one, so I very lightly just use my ball peen hammer. Using a fine point flathead screwdriver, I'm going to start getting the seals removed. First is the dust seal, then after I'm going to remove this retaining clip. This is what the retaining clip looks like once you got it pulled out. Once that's all separated, you can start separating the rest of the fork. You have bushings pressed in, so you may take your time. You can even use heat, but I just slowly but surely pull this apart until it separates. That's what you're left with. Using another flathead screwdriver, I use that to spread the top bushing to get it off the fork, and after that I just pull the rest of the components. We have the outer bushing, we're going to have the seating washer, and we're going to have both of our seals. The oil seal, the retaining clip, and then the dust seal. Next is to get these all cleaned up. I'm just going to be using some local AutoZone brake cleaner. Going to get these lower fork tubes all cleaned out, inside and out. Then we're going to be moving over to the fork stanchion itself and doing the same thing. Clean the outside and clean the inside. Try to get all this old oil. One thing I noticed with this fork is we got a little bit of rust and oxidation. I'm just going to be using a red Scotch-Brite pad with some brake cleaner. I'm going to lightly try to break this off. I don't think it's going to hurt it if we left it, but just something for the customer who wants to get rusty forks back. I'm going to be replacing all the seals and the bushings with Honda OEM stuff. and replacing the oil with some Maxima 10 weight. As I'm assembling the forks, I like to lightly coat all the parts. Let's get this bushing snapped on. As you can see, it's already got a light film of oil. Going to do the same thing to this outer bushing. Let's go ahead and get these installed. Next, I'm going to clean this seating washer before we install it onto the tube as well. After that, I got our seals. We're going to coat these with oil before we install them. What I like to do is use one of these seal bullets from Motion Pro, just so you don't cut the seal whenever you're installing it. If you don't have one of these, you can honestly just use the plastic bag that the seals come in. As I get this oil seal installed, make sure it's running up and down the tube smoothly, and then I like to clean off the extra oil that's on the bottom of the seal. Next, we'll get a retaining clip put in. Now we can go ahead and jump a little bit of oil inside of our fork leg and start getting this stuff installed. What I'm going to do is use a 43mm fork seal driver, and I'm going to install the bushings first. After that, I'm going to go ahead and use the same fork seal driver to install the oil seal. Once that's all seated, I want to get this retaining clip installed and put in. Just want to snap it in, make sure it's all the way in the groove, all the way around the fork. After you're done with that, let's go ahead and install our dust seal. There you have it. Those are all done. Next, let's do the internals. Next, we're going to install this fork internal cartridge. We're going to get it seated. What I'm going to use is a Motion Pro damping rod holding tool. This is going to help me hold the damping rod so it doesn't fall all the way into the fork. And I'm also going to use it whenever I bleed it. Next, we're going to go ahead and get the bottom bolt installed. We're going to get that torqued as well. Time to add our oil. What I'm going to do is fill up the fork tube and start slowly pumping the damping rod up and down. This is to bleed the fork. After that, I'm going to use a Motion Pro fork level setting tool. I'm just going to suck out the excess oil. Once I'm done with that, I'm going to install the fork spring. We have the preload spacer. I'm going to remove my holding tool, and I'm going to go ahead and get the compression rod and the top fork cap installed. Next, I'm going to get those two 14mm nuts torqued together. Then I'm going to install the fork tube cap and get it torqued. Once you're done with that, just got to put this protector back on. Just going to slide it over once it's all clean and just lightly tap it into place. And this fork is done. Do the exact same thing for the other fork. Now we got these completed, let's go ahead and get these put back onto the bike. Just like they came off, might need to take your time, but you can spin them as they're going up into the trees themselves. After that, let's go ahead and get our clip-ons installed. We got to do these safety clips first. Then we're going to go ahead and start torquing all these bolts down. I'm using a digital snap-on torque wrench. Once we get done with the symphony of torque beeps, we're going to go ahead and install this front wheel. I got the axle all cleaned up and with fresh grease and got that installed first. Next, I'm going to grab some red Loctite and put just a tiny little drop on each of these caliper bolts. Next, I'm going to install the caliper onto the front discs. I'm going to get these bolts installed. And come over to the other side of the bike, do the exact same thing. Don't forget that red Loctite. Once I got the front end all torqued down, axle, caliper bolts, and pinch bolts, we can go ahead and remove this front stand. What I'm going to do after now is go ahead and get this front fender installed. Alright, she's all back together. Time to go for a test ride. another job done. Man, these CBR F4is are actually pretty fun. Until next time, stay safe out there. Thank you for watching, everyone.